It's like the Emperor's New Clothes. Don't tell them the truth. Sell them shamrocks and shillelagh, sell them the twee product. And it's such a disservice. It's such a disservice. As a country, we've more culture than any other country in Europe. All right? We're credited with the preservation of Christianity. You know, we went across the world bringing education to people. And we're perceived as drunken Irish leprechauns. How I started this and why I started this was I went to Disney World, and in Disney World they have no Irish village. They had, this is back in 1980, 87 or 87. They have, Disney World was a lot bigger than it is now, and they had all the different countries of the world, Mexico, Morocco, the UK. So we decided, well, and I was living in England at the time, and I said, let's go and have a look for the Irish one, because you become more patriotic when you're living away. And I go and I asked the guy in the English, where's the Irish village? And he pointed to two shelves that had Aaron sweaters and Guinness t-shirts. And I'm like, no, like the round towers and the castles and the... No, he says, that's the... And I'm going, no, there has to be an Irish section, like, don't have one. So I became quite animated. And they called security. My name is Philip Gaffney, and the studio is OGOWNA Studios, which is OGOWNA being the Irish for Gaffney, so it's our studios. And we're situated in a little village of Knoll. You never stop to actually enjoy it. And Knoll is actually, Knoll means on isle. It actually comes from the Irish word which means cliff, which is what the village is built on. And the cliff is actually a limestone cliff. And what we use is limestone, locally sourced, to actually create our pieces. For me, this is all about the story. Everything is about, every single product starts with the story. So we don't make product for the sake of making product. We have never made a piece just to make a piece. We've always had a story and go, well, actually, you know, that'd be pretty cool. Let's do this, you know. And then the piece evolves from the story into a physical piece. And sometimes when we make it, we go, actually, that's not commercially viable. We can't actually make it. We can't make that to achieve a price point that we feel it'll sell for. So I suppose that's where we differ from art, because a lot of the art will create the piece to create the piece, and may only do one or two of them, and then and establish a certain price point. I can't do that because I'm always on to making the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So we're continually making new product all the time. And that's the joy of it. And that's the joy of having the workshop here and just keep creating pieces. We've been doing this since 1989, so this is our 27th year. I can't get a real job, so I do this. And I'm working too long for myself. I wouldn't give myself a reference, so I keep doing this. It all starts with a little bit of wax like this. It beats working for a living, you know, playing with mala all day. Right, and what I'll do now is I'll top up the finished one. Down there. And here's what we prepared earlier. We're the only people that do what we do. There's nobody else, you know. So they don't know where to categorize us. They don't know where do they put them, you know. Is he a craft worker? Yeah, it is a craft. You know, I am a master craftsman. I have spent, you know, best part of my life doing this, and I'm continually learning. You know, and what's interesting, you learn more from new staff when you take them on, and you try and teach them something, and they go, "Why don't you do it like this?" Now, sometimes they're going, you're like, because it doesn't work, and then sometimes you go, "Wow!" And as I've said to them all, there's no stupid questions. You know, there's no question you can ask me that is going to be a stupid question. Yeah, we make everything here. Like, we design it we carve the originals from wax, and then I take an impression from it. Then from that impression I make a master pattern, and then from that master pattern I make a production mold, and then from the production mold we basically cast the pieces. And on average we'll get 30 pieces out of each production mold. So basically the product we make, we ship to the States.
Gaffney is joining us, and Philip, you bring one of the most heartfelt items to our St. Patrick's Day show. Welcome. It's great to have you here.
I actually met QVC back in 1989. There was a chap called Doug Briggs when they'd only started, and we'd only started. And they come over and they were saying, "Oh, this is what we're going to do." And of course, I'm going, selling stuff on the telly. Like, it just seemed insane, you know. My father worked in a carpentry shop for 41 years. Oh. And from the time I was a lot smaller than I am now, the image I seen was him leaving. I was probably this height, looking out the window, and I see that image of him going off on the bike to work.
Then wanting him to stay home.
And that's they asked us to make a series of leprechauns. So we made the leprechauns for them, and they did okay. It didn't do, you know, really well. And I met them then at the next show. I met them in New York, so I met them at the next show in New York, and they said to me, "Yeah, it didn't do as well as we had expected, and we don't know why." And I said, "Well, I do." And they said, "Why?" And I said, "Because I wasn't on selling them."
So this is a tree in your garden?
It is.
Okay.
And then we did a little runway up to it. So it's like the Harry Potter train. So when you go running up there, you're in your own little world, the land of turning over.
And you magically go through the door and into the tree.
You do.
I love that. So look at the cute little windows there. So you've turned your tree into a fairy house.
I have. And anyone else can do the same.
Yeah,
so with QVC and like keywords are going on, you get your time slot and your particular host, and that time slot will probably be for 3 or 4 minutes. I think we're at 4 minutes now. When we started, it was 2 minutes. So the more successful you are, the more time they give you, because it's all about dollars per minute, and you have to generate a certain amount of dollars every minute. And if you don't generate those dollars, you don't come back. So what they'll do is they'll say to you, right, you have to meet the host 2 hours before you go on, and you have to talk through the product. And the host will be very, very knowledgeable on the product. They'll probably know more about it than you do, because they've really read up on it. So you go in and you've met them, you spoke to them, and they said, "Okay, well, I'll tell them the brief story." And they go, "Well, actually, more focus on this than that, you know. So don't, you know, I might get distracted on something that isn't relevant to the product, the physical product." And what I'm there as is a product expert. So what they want to know is, like simple things on the furry doors, that there's a little hole in it where you can hang it, which I never thought to say. You know, I'm talking about it was originally carved from a 400-year-old piece of oak and stuff like that. But from their point of view, it's what their customers react to. So, and they can tell that certain phrases or certain parts of the product that I'll be talking about will get a better reaction. And for example, on the furry doors, once we mentioned that it was a pre-drilled hole in it, the whole thing just spiked and they were gone. And the reason for that is, and it was funny because the buyer was sitting in the green room screaming at the screens to say, "Mention the pre-drilled hole," you know, and like literally screaming at her. Of course, I'm out in the, I don't know, I'm out in the studio. She mentions the pre-drilled hole, the thing spiked, everything sold out. They were designing a collection of product for Home Shopping Network, which is another TV channel, shopping channel over there. And I met her in New York. So she was like, "I want you to make a leprechaun for me." And I'm going, "Yeah, no problem," all right. So I'd shown her something. She goes, "No, that's not what I want." She says, "I want my own design." And I said, "Fine." And she says he has to have a red jacket, brown trousers, and a feather in his cap, sitting under a mushroom. He has to be mending shoes.
What have you bought this evening?
I bought the table center.
Oh, you did?
Yes, is this Miss O'Hara?
Yes.
Oh, my grandfather told me when I was a very little girl that you were my cousin.
I'm your cousin?
That's what he told me.
Well,
he was from Ireland.
Yeah? Well,
And
what was his name?
Edgar Tierney.
Tierney?
Tierney.
You know, you never can tell.
So we're discussing this in New York, and the people are standing behind her, her people, if you like, are going, you know, stop talking. And she says to me, I will finish when I'm good and ready to finish. She says, I know what they're doing. She says, and I'll talk to you as long as I want to talk to you. There is a stock image, and actually the Irish Examiner were on to me during the week about this, about the Hollywood leprechaun.
Bit of Irish folklore. Remember that this is done in poly.
And I says, yeah, it is a Hollywood leprechaun. I said, because the leprechaun, because we make leprechauns, but we make leprechauns that are artisans of the fairy kingdom, you know, which is how they fit into folklore.
As Maureen says, it is the only true leprechaun. As he sits under a mushroom, he's actually making a pair of shoes, which is his traditional trade, right?
Is it the shoemaker to the fairies?
The symbolism of the crock of gold actually reflects the knowledge of the world.
The lines lighting up.
That was the little quiet man leprechaun, you know, because she would be like, at the time we were walking out in Balbriggan, and Balbriggan was she did a movie with John Wayne where in the movie he called for his Balbriggans, because we were in the old hosiery factory that was built in the 1700s, and we did very, very well there.
They may be just beautiful, beautiful products, but they are not, they really want something that says Ireland on it, with a shamrock on it, with a leprechaun on it. They just want, you may laugh at that, but that is what they want.
I suppose the reality is you got to give them what they want if you have to make a living. And at the same time, maybe nudge them towards the pieces that you want to create. Unfortunately, a lot of people who have an artistic vision, they remain maybe a bit too true to the artistic vision. They nearly have to split themselves into the commercial person and the artistic person. And I think if they can do that, it means it's better for everybody.
When you're in your own space and you're creating pieces, you're not creating them on a commercial basis. You're creating them because for the creativity of it, and you don't really know if it's going to sell or not. So when you create the piece and you tell the story, and they say to you, could you change that a little bit? And if that little change doesn't affect the story, we'll change it. If it does, we won't.
I was very excited opening the first box, and the very first thing that I took out of it was a bag of tartan caps with kind of ginger hair running down the sides. And my first reaction was absolute despair, because I thought, God, you know, this isn't what I want to be doing, you know, it's because I thought it was very tacky. And he looked at me and he said, well, we sold 80,000 of those last year. And I thought, oh, okay, we'll put them up by the front door.
How adorable. And then one more picture. And this one
And
is
this
the large set?
This is the large set.
Okay.
And this is actually the view from our workshop.
Oh,
so, 'cause
wow.
we have the pieces are actually made from limestone, and the waterfall is actually on a limestone, basically it's a limestone waterfall. "29th of May, 5 to 5, it was a Wednesday. In 1996, I sold the business. And then I kicked back and bought this place. And I kind of semi-retired for 10 years. I decided to take it easy for 10 years, spend time with my kids, and I'll take it seriously again 10 years later. And that's what I did. So while the Celtic Tiger and all that was all roaring, I didn't take part. I wasn't interested. You know, so everyone else was, you know, they're all the million, billion boys, we're all doing very well. And I was like, best of luck to you. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. What's the real job?
And I needed to find it.